We know that education in the US suffers from a crisis in math. As recently as 2012, when American teenagers did standardized math tests, along with teenagers from 34 other countries, the Americans came in 30th out of 34 countries. 1 out of 3 American kids was found to be proficient in math. So just do that math, and the other 2/3 weren't proficient. That is both unfortunate and ironic. It's unfortunate because on the one hand, all of the new and high-value jobs that are being created in the US, and the jobs that will stay in the US, lean around science, technology, engineering, and all of those fields require a strong foundation in math. What is ironic about the problem is that the problem essentially boils down to kids, a lot of these kids, saying the same 6 magic words. I am not a math person. And the people that say and believe these words, essentially, it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Kids that say and believe these words end up being poor at math. Research by Carol Dweck at Stanford University and others essentially proves this very conclusively. The kids that actually believe that they can improve their skills, whether it's math or intelligence, actually end up improving their performance over time. In contrast, kids that believe that their abilities are fixed, in other words, that they can't work on their skills, end up with skills that are stagnated over time. In August of 2015, there's another interesting research that came out from the University of Chicago. Psychologists Belock and Levine found that parents that were anxious about math, walking around in the house saying things like, oh, this math stuff is tough, ended up with kids that were also anxious about math and ended up doing poorly in math in the end. So these magic words, I am not a math person, end up becoming the roots for a more vicious cycle. And that vicious cycle is, I'm not good at math because I don't like it, and I don't like math because I'm not good at it. And so at the end of the day, when it comes to what it takes, is the good old saying, only practice makes perfect, right? But it's got to be done right. I mean, it's not just any practice. Practice has to be done right. So practice needs to be regular, practice needs to be deliberate, and practice needs to be actively done by that child. Now, as anyone in this audience that has been on a regular diet or regular exercise knows, these are things that are easier said than done, right? And so maybe what we need to be looking out for is something that is an Atkins diet for math, right? Something, an unusual prescription that might work for kids, just like Atkins diet, works for a lot of people. So let's start by looking at what we already have out there. When Apple announced the iPad just 5 years ago, one of the biggest beneficiaries of that device was kids. What could be better than a device for practicing and learning than something that was almost designed with kids in mind? Simple, accessible, small form factor. 5 years later, we have 120,000 educational apps for kids on the App Store. That is across all devices. That's a lot of apps. But there's one problem, and there's one feature that's missing in a lot of these math and educational apps, and that feature is the child's attention, right? I mean, why do a math app or a reading app when there's Angry Birds on Netflix? And so you have a lot of these math apps saying that they're fun and interactive, but the question is, are they more fun and interactive than Angry Birds? Well, the answer is no. The answer is no, of course not, right? And so A lot of these apps end up with a really poor statistic when it comes to regular use. The average math app is used only once and then never again. So all of this boils down to the child's motivation. It boils down to something as simple as the child's motivation. And it leaves us begging the question, what might it take, what might it take to get kids to do 10 or 15 minutes of math every single day or almost every single day, and without the reminding, right? With the reminding is a different matter. And so here in Vancouver, Clark County, my startup, Hyperware Labs, is working with the Evergreen School District, parents, as well as local businesses, to try and approach to address this problem in a way that's unique and never been tried before. We have an app that addresses the child's motivation in doing regular math practice. And the way that is done is, we let parents set learning goals for their kids, serious learning goals that can be tied to real rewards. So as an example, a parent might say, if my child does 10 or 15 minutes of math every day for 10 days, I'm willing to spend $5 in rewards. When the child goes into that app, when the child logs in, what the child sees is a long list of rewards where everything that they've ever wanted is so many days of math. So 4 days of math takes me, is a visit to the park with mom or dad. 5 days of math is a scoop of ice cream at Sheridan's. Who likes Sheridan's, by the way? 6 days of math is a movie rental from the iTunes store. If you want to be more ambitious, 12 days of math is a soccer ball, and so on and so forth. So essentially, math practice becomes the child's currency, right? And what we're doing is we're saying, if you're willing to do bite-sized practice sessions, but do them regularly, then you can earn rewards that the parent can afford. And that's what it boils down to. Now, when kids go in, what they see is a list of rewards like the one that you see here. And like I said, that's their currency, is days of math practice. Once they pick the reward, and by the way, kids love spending a lot of time actually picking the reward of their choice, they're setting themselves up on a goal and a self-motivation plan. And once they pick the reward, that's when we get them to start doing their math. Here we've collaborated with the local school, the Gardner School of Arts and Sciences in Vancouver, to build a curriculum over the last couple of years that includes hundreds of skills from grades 1 to 4 and over 500,000 questions. And so you have all the skills that your child needs that meet or exceed US standard core requirements built into the app. And so a child works, and they have to work for 15 or 10 minutes at a time. It's not 9, it's not 11 minutes. And when they're done with that 10-minute session, the app says, you're done for today, right? You're done. You've got 4 days to go. You've got 3 days to go. You've got 2 days to go. You have a day to go. And then on that day of reckoning, you have a dramatic hula hoo, and the app says, you've earned your reward. You click on it. There's a bit of drama. The parent gets an email from the app that tells the parent how well their child has progressed over those 5 days. And it gives them a button that they can click on to help their child redeem that reward. So that's an example of a screen. So, you're always working on a countdown. When I first tried this app on my daughter, and she was my first guinea pig on this, it was in summer break, and she did 180. The email that I received said that she did 180 minutes of math over 12 days. Very importantly, that was unsupervised 180 minutes. I usually joke that it takes 180 minutes of the parent's time to get the child to do 180 minutes of math. And so that was one important thing out of that, is that she had actually done that without supervision. It was on her own. She had also picked a reward for herself and earned that reward, which is, by the way, an important life skill, isn't it? So you know what it takes to earn something, and you know what it takes to get a well-earned reward. And more than anything else, what you get out of this is you've created a framework within the family where you're willing to celebrate and reward small and regular academic success and progress, which is important. So they say that it takes a village to raise a child, and maybe it takes a village to get a child to do math. And if there's a crisis like the one that we have in this country, I think we need to put the whole village on a prescription diet and get the whole village involved in the sort of ways that we're trying right now, right here in Vancouver. And I invite families and businesses that are here today to join us in this initiative. Businesses could be reward partners. We already have reward partners signed up within the city. I'd like to invite businesses to be part of this initiative in making this a success in Vancouver, Clark County, and that can be then set up as a model that can be emulated in the rest of the country.